Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Call Our Crimes a Work of Art. This will be the final part, chapters 43 through 45. Chapter 43. Bakugo. Going to kill you, Deku. As soon as the words leave his mouth, he feels his body sort of droop. What the fuck? The person in front of him removes their cowl to reveal Deku standing there. But he's not looking at Bakugo. He's looking behind him. Good work, Paladin. We got him. A second person comes from behind vent chutes. They remove their cowl as they walk over. The mindfucker from the sports festival. Mindfucker stops in front of him, next to Izuku. There's that stupid mask from the joint training on his face, and he taps it twice. You really should be more careful about talking to strangers, Kachan, comes Deku's voice from the mask. Those fuckers. Deku steps away from the edge of the roof. Welcome to the final act, Kachan. Only one more operation in my plan and it'll be over, Deku says, and this time, he knows he spoke, because he can see his lips moving. That same mask is around his neck. That's how he did it over the speakers. That's why there was that crackling noise whenever he did it. Bakugo glares. Is Deku going to kill him or make him listen to more of his rambling? His thoughts must show on his face because Deku smiles, but it's not really a smile. It's empty of any true emotion. I'm not going to kill you yet, Kachan. Instead, I'm going to help you, the nerd says gleefully. Help him? He doesn't need his help. I know. You don't need help from a stupid Deku, but when has that ever stopped me before? He grins. You always wanted to be the #1 hero, so I'm going to help you. Deku starts pacing. But where to start, I know, he says, clapping his hands together. To be #1, you need to be the best, and you always said that the best heroes don't need help from anyone. Not other heroes, not useless Dekus, and not from hero agencies. Deku says, looking up at him with a smile that he'll never admit makes him shiver. So step 1 is to get rid of the hero agency so you can rebuild it in your name, he says, and pulls out a small remote trigger. What the actual fuck? Deku's grin is entirely too pleased when he presses the button. Boom. The building beneath them shakes, and Bakugo sees the hero agency shudder and crash to the ground in a plume of smoke. If he could, he'd be gritting his teeth. Deku taps his ear. Operation London Bridge begins, on our way from Location B to Location A. Then returns his attention to Bakugo. Next step. A #1 hero doesn't need backup or a team, so that has to be the next thing to go. See you around, Kachan, Deku says and steps off the edge of the roof, only to be caught and carried by their fucking hobo of a teacher. Has he been up here this whole time? Mindfucker looks at him before pulling out his own stupid scarf. Wait 5 minutes. Then you're going to remove your gauntlets carefully. Then you are going to immediately smash them into pieces. You'll wait 5 more minutes before heading over to the agency. Bakugo wants to glare at the bastard, knock him out of the sky as he does a definitely worse job with the scarf than the hobo. But finally Mindfucker is off the roof and Katsuki can only struggle with his own body that refuses to move. Was the bastard's quirk always as strong, or did Deku put him through some sort of boot camp to improve it? It doesn't matter. He's going to light the asshole up when he gets his hands on him, after he kills Deku, that is. 5 minutes later, he's pulling off his gauntlets. Fuck. Shouldn't there be like a range or something that this useless asshole has to abide by? Doesn't seem right that he can control him from several blocks away. He smashes them into little pieces on the ground. Luckily, that is enough to snap him out of whatever bullshit voodoo mindfucker put him in. He's definitely too high up to jump and use his quirk to get down, so he has to take the stairs. He takes them as fast as he can, vaulting some of them until he's back in the mirror room. He's no longer wet, but the AC is still pumping hard enough to make him shiver as he tears at the blast-proofing hastily applied over what he can tell is probably a door to the street. He throws it open and runs toward the agency, only for a bucket of ice water to drop on him as he passes through the door. Deku is so dead, not even Auntie can protect him. He takes off towards the sound of fighting. That's where the bastards will be. Shota. Shota sighs as he sees Bakugo take off towards the agency. He really needs to work on his situational awareness, especially when Midoriya is concerned. He turns into a search and destroy missile and ignores everything else. Like his teacher, literally around one corner of the building, and Shinzo around the other corner. One would think they would assume Shinzo needs to be nearby for his mind control to hold. His reach is pretty far, but definitely not far enough to cover from the agency here. He shakes his head. Bakugo probably would have checked if he wasn't so focused on Midoriya. It's one of many talks he's going to have with both boys, But first, Shadow Monk here. Code Early Bird.
Rogue here. Thanks, Shadow Monk. We're almost done here. Meet up with Bard and Open Fist Monk and prepare for backup plan Great Escape. We'll keep the comms open, so you can hear if you need to implement it.
Over and out, Rogue. He sees Shinso take off towards the agency. He's definitely not a strong physical fighter, but he'll be invaluable to distracting Bakugo. Shota drops his hand and goes to meet Hizashi and Kendo. But first he takes the nearest alley to pass by a different blonde, lying in wait for the final steps of the plan. They clap hands together before he continues on with his mission. He might not be able to be at the agency, but his quirk can be. Kirishima. Kirishima tries not to think about everything he heard over the comms. They had cut out after Bakugo had started up on the stairs wherever he was. He doesn't want to think that his friend could be so unmanly, but he's not so naive as to not see exactly who Bakugo is. But that's not important. What is important is that he dodges the chunk of ice Todoroki just threw at him, and then the baton Momo tries to hit him with. After the explosion, they had all taken to the streets and then had been swarmed before anyone knew what was happening, and it was too late. He's the last one standing, his quirk the only thing keeping him going. He hopes Bakugo is okay. They could really use some more firepower than just himself. The people he was fighting fall back into the alleys. He's about to pursue when he hears a noise behind him and turns. It's Bakugo. Kirishima drops his quirk and turns to him fully. He opens his mouth to say something when he feels something hit the back of his head. Bakugo. When he reaches the agency, it's absolute carnage. There are dead extras everywhere, or well, everywhere he can see, covered in brightly colored, mockingly bright paint. It'd be stupid if it didn't mean it was down to only him and Shitty Hair. He doesn't need his help or anyone's help, but they could have handled the extras while he beat Deku into the ground. Shitty Hair is standing there, panting for breath. Bakugo can't see any extras around, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. Shitty Hair must hear him because he turns, and when he sees him, he seems to pause. Then he drops his quirk and opens his mouth to say something. Then Shitty Hair jolts and puts a hand to the back of his head. It comes away stained pink. Chapter 44. His comm comes on suddenly, and he can hear Cowboy Cosplay speaking. Hero leader has been killed. Second in command now takes the helm. Fuck. Deku seriously killed all of them? How? This isn't like the nerd, is it? He used to joke about his notebooks being creepy, but he never actually meant it. But the information in them, could it also cause destruction like this? Shit. Eddie never saw the nerd use his quirk once. He's sure he's used it, maybe once or twice, but no. All this was done with the shitty nerd's brain at the helm. Has he always been capable of this? Number 1 heroes don't have leaders. They are the leader. Don't you agree, Kachan? A voice says behind him, and Bakugo whirls around. He opens his mouth to deny it, but then shuts his mouth. Smart, Deku mutters. Same trick won't work on me twice, he sneers. He has no way to know if this is the brain fucker actually talking. Deku paces back and forth, wringing his hands. But now you're free. Free of a team, of a leader, of an agency. Congratulations, Kachan. You are now the number 1 hero, the only hero that matters. The only one there is. Deku cheers. I didn't ask for your help, he snaps. Deku stops and turns to him. Bakugo faces him head on. He needs to be ready. What makes you think you can stand against me, huh? You've never been able to handle me before, Bakugo says. Because it's not just me, the nerd says, and he can hear the sound of footsteps, and suddenly he's surrounded. Shit. You think your little band of extras can handle me? Bakugo asks, palms sparking. Then the sparks die. What? He glares. Is Hobo around somewhere? Or something else happening? That fucking copycat. Shit. He must have taken the Hobo's quirk. As you can see, Kachan, we're ready. Every part of this has been thought out to the last detail. We won the moment we stepped in here. Bakugo growls. If you think I'm going to let you win so easily, you got another thing coming, Deku, he snarls. He grabs some of the dust from the ground and spins in a wide circle, throwing it into all of their eyes. Might not get past the goggles, but it'll catch them off guard. He uses that to throw debris at them, knocking the extras off their feet. With them taken care of, he returns his attention to Deku. If we can't win, then I'm at least going to take you out, he shouts and then lunges at the nerd. They hit the ground, and he pulls his fist back to punch Deku in the face. If he hits him hard enough and fast enough, he can get him out. It's a hollow personal victory, but he won't let Deku win this alive.
Deku grunts, and then suddenly Bakugo's vision is filled with green, and he's pulled off and back. There's someone standing there, gun leveled at where his face had been. "You're right, about the same trick not working twice, Kachan," the one with the gun says, pulling back his hood to reveal Deku. And the one he had attacked, who he thought was Deku, pulls his hood back to reveal the mindfucker. "That's why we used a different trick this time," Deku says. "Bakugo, you've been killed. Hero team has been eliminated. Villain team wins," Cowboy fucker says in his calm. No, I didn't lose to that fucking Deku," he shouts. "Bakugo, stand down. Violence outside of the simulation is unauthorized and will be severely punished." Bakugo can barely hear him over the pounding of his blood. Mindfucker's putting Deku behind him. Bakugo seethes. He's pissed. How dare Deku trick him? How could they win? How? He's supposed to be the best. But he is the best down here. And he's alone. At the top. In the #1 spot. Doesn't feel as good as he thought it did. He's aware of the villain team heading for the exit. But he can't bring himself to care. Is this what #1 feels like? That every failure, even if they weren't yours, is your fault? Is it always this lonely? He honestly doesn't know anymore. Numbly, he allows himself to be led out by Shitty Hair. He's talking, but he's not really hearing what they're saying. His thoughts are too loud. Chapter 45. Izuku's still shaking with adrenaline as he's led out of the facility by Hitoshi's firm hand on his back. His team is gathered around him as they walk, cheering and hollering in glee. They won. Even with the entire assignment stacked against them, they won. Holy heck, how? Hitoshi gives his shoulder a squeeze as they walk into the auditorium from the first announcement. Kids are still filing in after them. He can see some of the hero team looking disgruntled, specifically Class B. "Hey, don't worry about it, Rogue. Their pride is wounded. They'll be over it soon," Kendo says. "Thanks, Open Hand Monk." "Anytime." She sends a look towards her classmates, who immediately look sheepish and then puts a hand on his shoulder. He can see Kirishima come in, leading Kachan, who looks out of it a bit. Is he okay? A blast to the face with paint wasn't supposed to hurt him. Before he can do anything, Principal Nezu comes out with the rest of the teachers behind him, and Izuku notices that even the other classes and grades who were involved in the simulation are here. Miria waves when he notices him, and so does Nejiri. Tamaki is Tamaki. "Good afternoon, everyone. May I begin this by saying thank you all for participating. It was a long journey to get to this point, and I thank you for sticking it out," he says. "Regardless of whether you were a hero, a villain, or supporting cast, you should all feel proud of yourselves," Nezu says as he seems to make eye contact with everyone. "And now to the competitors. To our team leaders. You both made the best use of your resources and knowledge that you could. To all the competitors, regardless of whether you won or lost, use this as a point of growth. Hone your investigation skills. Hone your spatial awareness. Learn from your failures here and grow from them. You will become much better heroes for it. And I do mean that. All of you who competed have the makings of a true hero." Izuku feels Hitoshi straighten up a little next to him, and he sends the taller boy an encouraging smile. "Some of you just need a little work, and that was the purpose of the simulation, to show where the work was most necessary, and a chance to show off skills previously undiscovered or under-nurtured." Izuku smiles. That's what All Might had said, to use this as a chance to use skills that far exceeded his own ability to teach and mentor. "You should all feel proud of what you accomplished in those 5 days and the period before. There are still some pros who can't organize patrols or lead a team." He is looking at the hero team when he says that. "And there are ones that will just never be able to manage an undercover or infiltration mission." Nezu looks at the villains team with what equals a smile on his face. "Now, I know most of you probably want to return to the dorms to sleep, but if you would bear with me a little longer, would Kirishima and Midoriya please join me on the stage? I believe your colleagues and friends would like to hear a few words from you both." Izuku gulps as his team gently pushes him towards the stage. He doesn't want to go up there. He'll likely be booed off the stage, or Kirishima might hit him. He manages not to stumble as an arm wraps around his shoulders. He looks up into the smiling face of Kirishima. "Hold your head up high, Midoriya. You and your team were so manly, we didn't stand a chance." Does he really mean that, or is he lying? No, Kirishima is a terrible liar. He had nearly burst into tears the one time he had stolen Mina's cookies. Izuku smiles and straightens up. Kirishima's grin widens as they reach the stage. "Ah, it is good to see such camaraderie amongst opponents. Kirishima, would you like to speak first?
Sure. Izuku watches the boy stand at the mic. First, I'm not going to lie. It's a total bummer we lost. I think every losing team in history feels bummed that they lost, though, Kirishima says. There's a few laughs from the audience. And I'm sure that there's tons of ways I could have led better. I already have a list of things that I want to learn how to handle, and I know a lot of my teammates were working on lists as we went as well. Like Principal Nezu says, we should use this as a learning opportunity, Kirishima says. I'm so proud of every single member of my team. You did everything you could, and you were so manly. And I mean that whether you were one of my friends, or classmates, or one of our super manly Class 1B friends, Kirishima says. Then the redhead looks at Midoriya with a grin, and then out to the rest of the villain team. And to the villain team, you guys were so manly. Some of those plans were so clever and well put together, it was like watching a movie, he says. Izuku feels a little tickle of pride in his chest. However, Midoriya is not allowed to join in on prank wars. I don't think the dorm will stay standing, Kirishima says, and the audience laughs. Izuku blushes a little. I know playing the villain couldn't have been easy for a lot of you, but I want you to know that you're still our friends after this, okay? This changes nothing, except now you have bragging rights, Kirishima says, returning to stand next to Izuku. Izuku gulps as he approaches the mic. His stomach twists uncomfortably as he looks at his friends who were on the hero team. What will they think of him now? Will they even still want to be friends? Uraraka looks up at him and grins and gives a thumbs up. He takes a breath. Okay, he can do this. First, I want to thank the teachers for not being upset with some of the tricks I pulled on them. He sheepishly looks at Midnight, Snipe, and Powerloader, who all wave him off. Second, I would like to thank Kirishima for being such a manly opponent. A villain is only as great as the heroes they face. Kirishima grins at him. And I'm sorry for tampering with your rule book. Kirishima blinks, opens his mouth, closes it, blinks again, and starts laughing. Izuku doesn't know how to take that. Third, thank you to the rest of the hero team. None of you should feel bad about your performance. He checks to see, and no, Minetta's not there. Good. All of you here today should feel so proud. Just because we had plans to counter everything you did doesn't mean that you were bad heroes. It was because of your heroic traits that some of our plans even worked, so don't doubt your worth as a hero. He sees a few kids seem to release breaths they had been holding. Their faces brighten up. Good. Fourth, thank you to all the students who gave their time and energy to be civilians. You didn't have to do this, and you certainly couldn't have enjoyed the stuff we pulled on you. Fifth, thank you to Eraserhead and Present Mike for joining our team. You could have said no and joined the other teachers in the observation booth, but you agreed to join our team when you didn't even have to participate, so thank you. Mike looks like he's going to cry, from happiness or something else Izuku doesn't know. And finally, I want to thank my teammates. Each one of you had the same choice as the other students. You could have joined the team with more people, the team with more friends. The more heroic team, you had 1,000,001 reasons to join the other team. But you still chose me and my team, and for that I'm extremely grateful. He looks at Hitoshi and Mei. And for some of you, you didn't even have to participate. You chose to because you saw something in what I was promising to do, and because you're my friends, so thank you. I don't think we could have won this without each and every member. Izuku takes a deep breath. Now the most important part. I won't lie. Having to fight our friends sucked. A chuckle goes through the crowd. None of us ever really wants to fight our friends, but especially not when the end is considered death. So yeah, it wasn't easy to think of ways to neutralize and harm the people we care about. The hero team is looking at him, soft looks on their faces as they glance at their own friends on the opposite team. And even the idea of winning tasted like ash to us. It was a built-in consequence of the game, meant to weaken us. How can we keep fighting when the end is the death of someone we care about, whether schoolmate, classmate, or friend? When we planned out an ambush in an alley, or a bomb in the agency, or any of our plans really, the question that circled in our mind was, how can you do this to your friends, all just to win a stupid game? Izuku takes a breath. This is the part that's important. The answer to the question was this. What if the next person who considers this is a real villain? And that's how we reconciled our love for our classmates and friends with the acts in the simulation. We wanted you all to be ready, should you ever face a villain like this once we're pros. We wanted to give you the most experience we could so that you could be safe outside when it isn't a simulation. We did our best so that we would all be prepared when a real villain does it. And like Nezu said, some of it was to help you be the best heroes you can be.
that we know you can be.
A few people are crying. Oops.
Thank you.
He steps back and off the stage with Kirishima. While Kirishima heads towards his friends, Izuku heads towards Hitoshi again, who ruffles his hair. For a nervous wreck, you sure did good with that speech, he says, and Izuku elbows him. Izuku smiles, and his eyes seek out All Might. When their eyes lock, the bro hero gives him a proud smile. Izuku's heart leaps into his chest. He made All Might proud. Izuku nearly jumps out of his skin as Mr. Aizawa materializes from the shadows next to him and Hitoshi. Nice speech, kid. You should be very proud of yourself. I know I am, he says, then turns to Hitoshi, handing him a piece of paper. Hitoshi looks up at him, then down at the paper.
Is this for real?
Yeah, kid. Get your parents to sign it and bring it on Monday. You have a meeting with Nezu and I about the special training program you'll be in for the rest of the semester, to get you ready, their teacher says, and vanishes back into the crowd.
What is it?
Izuku asks. He has a pretty good idea, but he wants to hear it from his friend.
Transfer paperwork. I'm going to be a hero student, Hitoshi says.
Congratulations, Izuku says, and he suddenly hugs so quickly that he wonders if it even happened.
Thank you for inviting me to your team. I never would have gotten the chance to show off what I could do without you.
Izuku almost argues that it was all Hitoshi's doing, but decides not to. They've had that conversation before, and at least this time Hitoshi acknowledged his own skill and ability, as being the reason he was given his transfer. Izuku decides to take the minor victory. He'll have plenty of time to work on it with Hitoshi. A cleared throat has them all looking back towards the stage, where Nezu is back at the mic. He looks out amongst the audience and says, "Once more, thank you for joining us to watch this story unfold, and with that, I officially bring this assignment to a close. Thank you." All right, listeners, this concludes the fic Call Our Crimes a Work of Art. I really like this one a lot. I'm a big fan of those heroes versus villain exercise type fics, but I really like the unique perspective the author brought to this one by including the teachers in this assignment as well. So let me know your general thoughts and reactions to everything for this fic. And if you liked it, if you have an opportunity to show some extra support to the original author by sliding over to AO3, you can leave comments or kudos to them as well. I think it would be much appreciated. And as always, thank you so much for listening.